Hey, Genderqueer Chat. It's Joe, and you've probably forgotten about me by now because it's, I don't know, March 10th or something, and I haven't made a video in a month, and I feel terrible about it. Don't think I don't. What are my excuses? Well, as you know, winter rips my brain from my body, and I just sleep, basically. I have been sick every single freaking month since the day I turned 40. I've been sick so much. I've been on antibiotics, prednisone. I'm still sick. If that gives you an idea. It's like ridiculous. It's like a joke. It's like I don't even want to talk about it because people think I'm just making shit up. And then today's Sunday. On Friday, Eli went to be with Elvis. Eli is gone. He had taken a real turn for the worst. And he fell. He actually snagged on my earlobe. I was trying to wipe his snotty nose because, he sneezed all the time. He was sick all the time. Kind of like me. And he fell and he didn't really get up after that. Like I think he was injured. That happened Wednesday night, and all day Thursday he was a mess, and I took him in Friday morning. And it was, it's one of those things Eli was 18 years old, and I've had him for 17 and a half years. And I mean, I've always dreaded I never thought I would ever be able to make that decision when the time came, and I never wanted to make that decision, and it turned out to be extremely easy. Just be forewarning, if anybody has a pet and they're wondering about like a geriatric pet and how to deal with end-of-life decisions. Hi, Stanley. So Stanley's an only kitty now. Anyway, yeah, it wasn't a hard decision at all. And the vets were super. I don't know if you can see that basket right there, but I just made a big, stupid gift basket for my vets because they're the nicest people in the world. But I've had a freaking stupid February, March. And I'm sorry that I haven't made videos. And I know one little sorry doesn't make up for it. But we've got a new member, Jay, I believe. And I think we have more coming. I know some people auditioned, and this is fantastic because I know I feel like we were all kind of holding up our end of the coffin, and I dropped my hand in the coffin, the ball, the game, whatever. This is good. I have a toy here for Stanley. I was feeling like I should try and catch up on the other topics of the weeks, but that I've missed, but I can't do that. I'm a little bit discombobulated, so I'm just going to forge on. And I'm actually now the first day of the week. We're changing it slightly so that Sundays are the first day of the week. Stanley, I have a toy. See? He likes to play. Who knew? Sundays are now going to be the first day of the week because I'm actually the longest standing member on the Genderqueer Chat channel. So it made sense for someone to start the week, I guess. But I'm a little overwhelmed. Just FYI, I am overwhelmed by this process because normally I can feed off of the stuff the other contributors have put on, and now I'm kind of flying blind, and I'm nervous about it, but I will just make do. So this week's topic was, if you are or were you to become a parent, how would you approach gender with your child? How would you express yourself to them? What would you have them call you? How would you approach their gender? So just so you know, a lot of you probably know me from years gone by, but I had my tubes tied when I was 26, and that I identify very strongly as a child-free person. That's a huge identity of mine, and I think probably in almost more so than genderqueer, my self-identity as a child-free person has always been a huge part of who I am because I never wanted children, and I think coupled with when you brought gender into the equation, it was always I never wanted to be anybody's mother. Motherhood is, in my opinion, a shit stick. I don't want any part of that. Parenthood, it's funny because I think if I were born male-bodied, I probably would have had kids because it's not quite the effort. You don't have to do the physical labor for one thing, and then all the child rearing that mothers typically do that fathers can kind of get away with not doing. Losing salary, losing wages, losing time off work, this kind of thing. Not anything I ever wanted out of life. So it's going to be a very cerebral process for me to come up with this question. If you are or were you to become a parent, how would you approach gender with your child? I do believe that I would approach gender with my child the same way that I approach gender with all people in my life. And I don't treat children any differently than I treat adults. And I have a lot of kids in my life. Really? And yeah, I've had these conversations like with the little kid that I teach to sew. We were talking about Chaz Bono one time when he was on Dancing with the Stars. We're talking about transgender issues. I actually participate in, I did it once before and I'm doing it again at the end of the month. I'm going to a GSA club at one of the high schools and I'm going to be the guest speaker on genderqueer issues. I'm really excited about that. Which is that I talk about gender very, very candidly and from the hip, and I use plain language, and I would explain to any child in age-appropriate terms You know, that not everybody is a boy or a girl. Not everybody identifies that way. And I would probably say things like, I would probably use expressions like, do you always want to wear blue or pink or whatever? Or do you sometimes want to be somebody different or look does it bother you when somebody calls you he when they meant she? And, you know, bring up the simple concepts that maybe kids could understand. How would I express myself to them? The same way I express myself to everybody, which is I just am what I am. I appear female to the outside world predominantly, but I appear to be a kind of a non-conforming female. I don't wear makeup, I don't shave, this type of thing. So I think most people who meet me I get a sense right away that I don't abide by the gender binary, at least superficially. And then once they get to know me, oh yeah, it's way deeper than just superficially. But I present the way I present. Oh, here's an example. I was in an elementary school somewhat recently, and it was a French immersion school, which means they speak French. I talked about this on one of my previous videos here on Genderqueer Chat, but I was, the kids were about to come in, and the teacher said, oh, well, what do we call you, mademoiselle or madame? Because in French there is no gender neutral term, right? Or there's no Ms. in French. There's there's Miss and Mrs. and Ms. in English, but there's no Ms. in French. It's mademoiselle or madame. And I wanted neither. I said, monsieur, like I couldn't, and the teacher was kind of overwhelmed, and then finally, we didn't have time to discuss it, but later I had a long talk with him about genderqueer issues, and he was very sweet about it. He was so awesome. I enjoyed that conversation immensely. I work in the school board system, so I do see kids a lot, and I ask them to call me Joe, and I usually explain, Joe is my name, I prefer to be called Joe. I try not to make, a complicated mess out of it, but sometimes they do want, a title, and I guess they just make one up. I don't give them one. They can just make one up. If they call me Miss, I accept it. If they call me Mrs., Mr., Ms., whatever, whatever they call me, I just accept it. I don't really correct, because I correct if there's an opportunity to correct, but if it's just passing, it's not worth the effort, So what would I have the kids call me? I have them call me Joe, and I do realize that kind of sets me apart, especially in a school situation where kids, are very much in the habit of calling teachers by their last names. And I don't know if this is a Canadian thing or if it's but kids in schools, they call all the teachers Miss or Sir. So they go, Miss, 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 or Sir, Sir, Sir. And when they see me in the hallway, they'll still call me Miss. And it's kind of funny because I have picked up this bad habit. I do it too. If I don't know the teacher's name in the class and I need to yell to get her attention, I say, excuse me, miss, can you let the kids know that they have to be... And it's just become like such a part of language over the years that the first time I ever did it, I felt completely strange doing it. I hadn't done it since I was a teenager, and I was in my 30s, and I remember thinking, this is whack. But I guess like anything, it just kind of happens over time. Yeah, I'm very respectful of other people's... I try to be very respectful of other people's genders. I was just watching Matt and Ricky's video from yesterday, and I was... there was just a comment made. Ricky said something along the lines of how they are very cognizant of other people calling Matt he. And I called Matt he for years on this channel. I don't know why. And I should have been called... I was supposed to say he. They never corrected me, and I should have known better. I think it's because Matt presents male the same way I present female, in that same, it's just the way it is way. I don't know why it is, but I'm formally apologizing and trying to get through the idea that it is hard. It is very hard. You have to be kind of hyper aware sometimes that to be respectful of someone else's gender pronoun sometimes is hard, especially when they're not presenting in a gender neutral way. So I would explain to kids, if I had to explain it to kids, that yes, it's hard. Like pronouncing. There's a little girl in one of the classes where I work. Her name is Zainab. It's like a Arabic name of some fashion. It's hard to remember. Zainab is a weird name to an English tongue. It's just not something that you have to think about it before you say it. Now I've said it enough, and there's a character on one of a soap that I watch that has that name that I can remember it now. But sometimes to say ethnic sounding names is difficult and hard. But you have to learn. That's the person's name. You have to learn how to say it properly. Just like saying their preferred pronoun is sometimes hard, but you need to learn and try and be respectful as you can. And it's okay if you fail. It's okay if you fuck up. I mean, I fuck up, and that's you just, so long as you're doing your best in life, that's really all you can ask for. if I had kids in my life who had appeared to have gender issues on their own, I would go out of my way to, encourage them to be themselves, talk openly with me, come to terms with it, be comfortable with it, don't worry about what other people think. I think I would like to be a mentor to a gender queer person in my life, as children, but I never wanted to be a mother. And I never wanted to be a parent, because that's a whole other slew of problems that I just never appealed to me on any level. So again, sorry about the long vacation, sort of, absence. And yeah, my little Eli, I'll try and splice in, well, I wonder if I could splice in a picture. That might take a little bit more effort. But I was in the Toronto Star with Eli. It was an article about child-free living, and it's pictured me holding him, and it was on the front, or whatever, the letters to the editor page of the Toronto Star. And I was just looking at it the other day because Eli was so healthy then. He was 18 years old. I had him for probably 16 of the years I had him. He was a good, healthy cat, but the last couple of years he had shrunk to half his size. And but anyway, yeah, there was this picture of me and Eli, and it said, "The child-free life," and just in light of the fact that that's what we're talking about today, having children. I'm hearing noises. Okay, have a good one, you guys. See you later.